black people live up to the stereotype of thugs and criminals.
He proceeded to tell them that he had the right to use the N-word because black people played up to the stereotype.
And the fact that we're perceived as 3/5 of a man.
But I like the fact you did say isolated, because this is...
It is
isolated. Black funeral, blacklisted, black boy, evil deeds, black magic. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, you're the only black person I can talk to. All other black people are, I won't even say it, blah blah blah.
Yeah, come on, you're not playing it, you're not pressing play.
Nah, that's not for me.
Don't sing along, don't do nothing. Welcome to Class Act, an extracurricular podcast. Yeah, episode 4.0.
Yeah.
Where we will be discussing an article that has come to our attention.
Literally got it as well.
Literally.
Just
fresh.
Yeah,
fresh from the press. Has it even been released yet?
It's true, you know. Yesterday.
Inside.
Are you sure it was sent to you for you to read over first?
Oh,
or you
editorial.
Was it editorial? Whatever.
Yeah.
You did editor. So school justified the use of the N-word. This was recently published by The Voice newspaper. Mum's fury over governors who back a teacher over complaints about a racial incident or racist incident in the class, where the teacher said it was okay for the use of the N-word during that particular lesson. What are our thoughts and feelings on this?
I don't want were the school justifying it, or because it says following the Board of Governors at the Holy Family Catholic School in Wolves ruled that the school had acted appropriately.
Yep.
Does it mean that they believe that? Did they believe it was justified that the N-word was used?
Yes.
Or was it the fact that the governors believed that the school dealt with that problem appropriately?
I think it's the school felt like they dealt with the problem appropriately in regards to talking to the teacher and disciplining the teacher. But there's definitely an issue with like the parents who feel totally ignored by what was going on. There was a lack of communication. Come on, we've all been in schools where there's been an incident. You always talk to the parent and have like a follow-up meeting just to reassure them in regards to their their kids' behaviour or kids' safety. But follow up and say, oh yeah, we've dealt with this, and not to refer back to the parents about their fears of racism or discrimination in the school.
So let's actually, for people who could be listening to this, let's give them a little bit of a... So in a school, East London, they said that a teacher would put on a film called The Trap, which is on Netflix.
2 stars.
Yeah.
No, I'm not joking.
It's a film on Netflix.
I don't know.
And then the use of the N-word was used within the film.
Yep.
And then it quotes here that the class teacher, who is not black, said the use of the N-word was okay because black people played up to the stereotypes of thugs and criminals. So that is what the issue was. Following complaint, the Board of Governors, the Holy Family Catholic School officer ruled that the school had acted appropriately. The matter is not in the subject of any investigation. So it's now in the subject of investigation by Teachers Regulatory Authority, and the school said as a result they cannot comment. The teacher put on a film called The Trap, which had the N-word in it, and instead of stopping the film and apologising for the use of the word, he proceeded to tell them that he had the right to use the N-word because black people played up to the stereotypes of criminals.
I think we should talk about that first.
What makes you feel comfortable enough to say that and then use the word? Because clearly you're comfortable enough to use the word and you've justified it by saying that black people live up to the stereotype. And then it goes on to use the word monolith, which means slow to change, basically. Which then backs his opinion on the fact, backs his opinion that black people live up to the stereotype of thugs and criminals. You know, the question was what kind of society we live in, and I said an imperialist society, and he said he would take it a step further and say that it's an anti-African society, which means that is also embedded within the school system or the education system. And the fact that we're perceived as 3/5 of a man, less than a dog, also warrants this sort of behaviour and these opinions.
Do you think, as a society, and definitely in education, we do enough to just to talk about these issues? Because if a teacher, but even adult, anywhere said, "Oh, black people are thugs and criminals," hairs will prick up at the back of your head. You'll be a bit frustrated. You'll be angry. You definitely want to talk to that person seriously about what gave them that impression. But to say that to young children, surely that's incredibly problematic.
100%.
I don't even know how this is still something a teacher could say to young children in 2022.
Because you're still, it's got nothing to do with, I don't think it's got much, it's not got much to do with time, because clearly people's mindsets have still not evolved in how they perceive black people. Because, again, like I said before, where are these teachers coming from? You've now taken it a step further into saying, you've taken it a few steps further to say that it's okay to use the word, and then say that it's okay to use it because black people live up to the stereotypes of thugs and criminals.
It's just,
do you know what your face looks like? You look so confused as to why.
We're just how did a teacher open his mouth and said this and he thought that was appropriate for young children to hear?
That is
in London.
That is.
Let's not go. It was like in a school outside of London where it's maybe culturally.
Okay, but this is what I mean. Where did you come from? What was your environment like growing up? What is it like now to make you feel comfortable enough to come into a school in East London to say something so wild and reckless?
You might have got a rush.
You know what? That is an important.
Funny. That is
actually an important. That is a valid point, because
I'm just saying, I don't know if it's the case. I'm just saying,
when you look
might
at
have
the
had an
normal
experience, but still, I don't get it.
When you look at the normal average person walking down the street that's not in education or police force, they might have gone through something that might make them shy away from a certain person, race, of size, color, gender, whatever, of a trauma that they might have gone through at a certain point in their lives. Now, if you've gone through that trauma and you're now decided to work we live in London, for the Metropolitan Police, or gone into teaching, these are two fields, or even...
Healthcare,
Oh, thank you! I was just about to say that. Or even healthcare, you could just kill someone, do you get what I'm saying? You can literally just, from your trauma, you can just go in there and just kill them. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah? Nurse, just boom, 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 IV, overdose. But... Thriller. Now that you're coming into contact with people and you're going to see someone who is a reflection of whatever trauma it is that you went through, how are you now dealing with that person? And I feel like this is what's being played out in these isolated incidences that take place within education and within people in contact with police, everywhere. But I'm just talking about the two.
But I like the fact you did say isolated, because this is
it is. This hasn't happened much. This is,
you know what I mean? Or that we know of. That's the other side.
That's another. That's true.
But it seems like this. That's why I said, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, but it is something that happens. I mean, going back to what you just said, I remember back in school. I remember being 17, 18. Just like walking back home with one of my friends after a night out, and he was just like, and it just reminded me that this guy felt this was okay, because he just walking back home was like, you're the only black person I can talk to. All other black people are, I won't even say it, blah blah blah. And I just looked at him like, I am black. No, you don't, bruv, you don't get it.
Yeah.
We are all, you can't just like pick people and drop people away. But that's what these people think. Oh, there's a good black and a bad black.
Yeah.
And I think we need to talk about this because in education and in politics, whatever we go, everyone thinks that we've done enough. And these are isolated instances. I think there's more of these incidences than we think actually.
Yeah, it's just that kids aren't either saying it or anything.
Yeah, people are just
let
tired.
it go.
Yeah.
And they just don't tell their parents or anything
Yeah.
like that.
And luckily this kid did tell his mum, but when his mum picked it up, another thing we've got to definitely go to is when people pick these things up and they complain about it, what happens?
And that's what.
Where are they going?
actually
I think it's just lack of knowledge, isn't it? Of what courses of action or what your options are, because there are actual options.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There are actual options, and if worse comes to worse, then you know the power of social media these days going to the papers.
Yeah, because I think personally, I just think when I read it, because what they said is the response was that the teacher had been spoken to. They've addressed it with the teacher. The teacher was still there, but he's gone up through the line management. Head teacher had that conversation. But then, like any organisation, like you want, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Minimal.
So damage control.
That's what they're looking for, isn't it? Damage control. And when the parents not happy, took it further.
But not to be advised, she wasn't advised at all. The school didn't talk to her. That's incredibly strange. So is it that they didn't take her complaint seriously? Did they disregard it? For them, is this not important to her? I mean, to them, like, why is this issue not like being dealt with appropriately? Because if it was any of like, let's say, if it was any of our relatives or kids or loved ones, come on, this wouldn't be something we'll just like go, oh yeah, it's fine, that's okay for you to say.
It says it was the end of the summer term and stuff, but you regulate what you're going to watch when you're not supposed to watch films, but you regulate what you're going to watch when you know that you're going to be watching films. Yeah, of course. We all know what we do.
Yeah.
It's like when a child tries to tell you,
you don't want to chill out?
Or when they say to you, sir, can you play that song? And from the title...
Come on, we all read
that.
No.
Yeah, and the title, the artist... Or, okay... Let's be a little bit naive then. Let me play into it. Okay, tell me how you spell it. You're there typing away. When that video pops up, when the thumbnail pops up, come on, you're not playing it, you're not pressing play. Are you okay with the use of the N-word? Are you okay with it amongst different groups? Are you not okay with it totally? Or are you like, whatever? Kind of thing, like what is your stance on it? Different groups, different social settings, different things between you and maybe a friend or two. Is it okay? Do you call people up on it? Do you call other black people on it when they call you that? When I say call you that, I mean like what's up, my hen?
It's complex.
Like what? Go on. What is your?
Who wants to go first? Because we all say
one of you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Me, no. I just say just don't use it whatsoever. The reason why, from my perspective, that I don't support it or I don't like hearing that word, is because from my perspective, if this is a word, this is a word of its historical connotation, where it's come from. Why is it that I would want to associate myself with that in any way, shape, or form? And it's led to a hell of a lot more problems, a lot more deeper issues, and problems within our community of being able to use that word. And it's a case where, as a young person, I was heavily engaged with it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're all ignorant about it.
That's what I'm saying, and that's the word, ignorant about really. And the thing is, like, you understand all things, but then you just like, because I hear it so much, and so you just think that actually, no, I'm going to.
Yeah.
But then, as you get older, you realise, nah, that's not for me.
feel the same as you, but I will say that there are some of my football mates, when it's just us, a small group of us who are black, they still do use it. And as you said, I don't call them up on it because I have in the past, and they're just going, oh, shut up. So I know for me that they will use it, but they don't use it with me. They use it to each other. Now for me, you said the right thing in regards to the historical baggage and the weight behind that word. I'm not sure even some of us know what grandparents and like uncles and aunties went through when they came here, like, you know, the first generation, those lot. Like, it was to reinvent that word and to, like, you know, transform that word into something new. I think it may take several generations. I think some of the scars and the burdens, the sores are still a bit raw. Even if you think about where we are socially as a community, are we yet ready to reclaim that word? Because we feel like we are strong enough and equal enough and, you know, able enough to be on our own 2 feet and go, yeah, do you know what? We're ready for this word.
Do you know what I just popped into my mind?
I don't know.
Can I just, it was for me.
Go on.
The usage of this word, right?
Yeah.
My background is Guyana and Zims.
Yeah.
I'm really consciously thinking, would they have said that in the Caribbean? Would they have really? Because I'm looking from the perspective that is this an American?
For sure.
Is this an American culture, which is something that we have adopted into? Generally speak, America's culture adopts into the rest of the world. Sorry, my. Do you know what he said? Because he knows it's like, damn, they're back at the table. Sorry, let me tell you. It's like, is it a case that this is American culture just not infiltrating, but it's just having its impact on the rest of the world?
The US does have an impact. I feel like every country gets its culture or draws in on other cultures. The UK has been known to follow in the footsteps of the US when it comes to culture, and we can see that played out in most aspects of culture, music, entertainment, clothing, so fashion, and again communication, language. So I agree with that. I think that is one of the reasons why.
I think you're right, but when you said about where you come from, because I'm trying to think of like, even when I go back to like Nigeria, my cousins aren't using that word. My uncles aren't using that word. So, and I've got some like young cousins, like, you know, 17, 18, 15. They don't say that.
And this is why I feel and for me, it fuels why you have teachers who are saying that they are able to feel as if they are brave to say that.
Yeah.
Because I feel that if you actually say that this word is completely inappropriate, it is wrong, with everything that comes with it. If you said no one ever uses this word, no one uses it. When someone does use it,
the repercussions
are strong. There is no grey because what's their excuse if they come out? Well, how much is in the music? You guys use all the blah blah blah.
Yeah, you guys.
No, but
don't sing along. Don't do nothing.
So then you're saying reclaim.
So you're saying reclaim the word?
Reclaim the word.
Yeah, for us and not for other communities.
No, I don't think no one should. Alright, so I'll give you my opinion. I don't feel like anybody should use the word. I don't even like it when a black person uses it. Especially in conversation with me. I just don't like it.
Honestly, I go a little bit.
And it's because of its negative connotation. Not even negative connotation. I think the word black, but I'll come back to that. How it came about and where it was used and how it was used and the reasons it was used and who it was used by. It was the slave master.
Exactly.
Do you get what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, but yes, to a degree, we are on a plantation. but ultimately, we're not. We're not, because we're not working for free. Do you get what I'm saying? So we're not on a plantation. So for you to say it's okay, like you're in a lesson, in a class, you're basically saying, this is a plantation, you lot work on it, and it's okay for me as a slave master to use this word. Because you are the master standing in front of the class teaching or professing. Then if we go back, it came from the word Negro, or one of the words that it came from was Negro, which just means black, okay? And then if we look at that word, whichever one you want to take, Negro or black, because it means the same thing, that also has negative connotations to it. And then, so then you're and then associating that with us, it's like this was all by design. You know, it's not by accident. So, death, black, funeral, black, blacklisted, blackboard, evil deeds, black magic. Do you get what I'm saying? And then white is seen as purity.
You've been watching
wedding.
You've been watching Malcolm X.
Nah, it is all to do with language. And then what I want to go into as well is dehumanization. Okay, so it really does come down to that. So, and then D is like to go against. You know, anything with D or this is you're going against something. So in this case, it's like going against humanity, basically. Dehumanization. So when you're saying things like you guys live up to the stereotype, it's basically saying your stereotypes goes against humanity. But then if we go back to history and we look at who's actually gone against humanity, okay, these are people who are uncivil or are not pro-life. And then, okay, let's look at those people who you're referring to us as criminals. I'm sorry. Things like crusades, ethnic cleansing, rape, murder, coups, kidnapping, enslavement, arms dealing, everything above the sun and below the moon. Who's responsible for all of this? Historically. Mass murder, war crimes. And then a question I've always had is, does crime have a colour? Can you associate certain crimes with? Because if this teacher is saying that you guys are thugs and criminals, I would really love for him to highlight. I'd love to have a conversation with him for him to highlight. Okay, what crimes are you talking about? You know, referring to us as criminals. What types of crimes? Because if we really want to go there, all of the things that I've just listed, not to say that it doesn't take place in other races,
and in other empires and cultures.
Yeah,
because historically, we talk about recent
human nature. Every human has taken part in all of these crimes and
exactly. So I don't understand why you're just calling us the stereotype of us just being criminals, like we're the only criminals out here.
I think that goes back to, a few episodes ago when we talked about education. And I wanted to say that I'm not necessarily a fan of the phrase decolonizing the curriculum, mainly because of the weight of that language, like instinctively drives people away. But I'm definitely one for innovating and trying to update the historical curriculum that our children learn. If our kids are learning about the roots of the British Empire, that teacher doesn't say that. The kids also don't react and appease the teacher's words. They would literally challenge, because we're going to teach critical thinking, teach our kids to be independent. They would challenge. Why are we watching this, sir or miss? Why is the use of the N-word appropriate, sir or miss? Because those are the sort of students we're trying to encourage and build in society. If we have a good history curriculum, that doesn't happen at all.
Anger. So when you're using words like decolonizing the curriculum, it comes from a place of anger probably, because we've been colonized over and over again. Not asking the teacher, well, why do you think it's appropriate for the use of the N-word? Again, no one's going to, articulate themselves. A student articulate themselves. Adults have a hard time articulating themselves, let alone a 14-year-old student, when it comes to something as big as this. You're just thinking, my teacher just said it's okay to use the N-word.
No, he's okay to use the N-word.
It's okay. Yes, it's
because
okay.
of the fact that they are acting like thugs and
criminals.
You don't, not even word for word. How are you reacting?
As a kid,
as a teacher.
No, as a teacher. As a teacher.
Oh, come on.
As a teacher, you got in there to observe, or you're just sitting in there,
or
you're a TA, whatever.
Oh no, that's getting challenged.
Yeah,
like,
getting challenged.
What you saying?
Getting challenged.
It's getting
It's
challenged.
like
You're getting challenged.
oh no, in front of it. What? While the kids are there, he said this teacher has said this.
Yeah.
And
It won't even happen.
honestly, from my perspective, we're having a conversation right
there and then.
Right there and
There
then.
and then.
You have to.
Okay.
You have to protect.
So
your
you
children.
come from this perspective
Yeah.
of you saying that it's okay to use this word. Do you know where the historical educating right on the spot?
But there you go.
I would embarrass that.
He's done it
He's
again.
getting passionate.
I would embarrass
Not
that
coming out.
right there and then. And then after, when the kids have left, there's an issue.
Yeah.
Someone's not coming out of that room. So I don't know who it is. That's all
Don't worry, kids.
I've got this.
So this has happened. The school says they're dealing with it. It's gone to the teachers' regulatory authority. Mum wasn't happy. She took it to Department of Education.
Yeah.
And I know we're all. Mum definitely. I think Mum did the right thing entirely. Like, do we go? We need to educate teachers more at the start of each year, or do we go? We need to.
I think we're too passive.
Do you think that's what I was asking? Like, what is the right thing? Actually?
I think we're way too. I think we're way too passive, and I think we've gone beyond the point of cultural competence. You know, that's what you're basically telling. You're asking if we should be teaching and educating members of staff on, and I think we're beyond that.
I'd find it very uncomfortable, like if my kid was in that environment.
And this is what I think. There needs to be a mass exodus in some way, shape, or form. A mass exodus in pastoral, which we've spoken about before, or a mass exodus students walking out, parents taking their children out, or staff just walking out and being like, I'm not working here.
I think it's more. I think in that.
But when I say walk out, I don't mean, please, people, don't do what I would do, just walk out.
I think in that instance, like
protest.
Yeah, protest.
Yeah. Like everything
legally.
These things come out after the fact.
Yeah. Well, this is July 2021.
Yeah. And we don't know actually when. Oh yeah, so it's 2021.
Yeah.
That incident happened. Now we know.
We're finding about it now.
So
In April.
Staff, I believe, or more likely wouldn't know about this until now.
They wouldn't.
I think majority of staff probably wouldn't.
No, because it would have been dealt with privately. Think about it. Yeah. What do you reckon is the right thing to do? Is that a slap on the wrist?
As a what?
In terms of for this, like, okay, so let's say we're all head teachers, yeah, and this happened in our school. What do you do with that teacher?
You're going.
That's a dismissal.
You're going.
Perspective.
You're going.
That's
Fair
dismissal.
Fair dismissal.
That is dismissal.
It's a fair dismissal.
He doesn't want to pay out. Yeah,
I don't want the insurance premiums going up.
Yeah, you need to.
No, it's a fair dismissal.
But that's I think that's what that question that you asked is very, very, very important.
What is a? What is probably
because
what is a head's? Yeah, what is a head's like legal?
And that's what I was going to say.
That is another
like,
thing as
it's
well.
more choice.
Can you just dismiss
Legal
based
action.
on what
Just
grounds?
like, exactly that.
Because if this is most people's stance on this word or their perception of us or whatever, so how are you now as a black head teacher going to justify this dismissal? If the people that you have to justify this dismissal to all have the same mindset as that teacher.
Or they just think it is just a slap on the wrist.
But it's the same mindset. If you think it's a slap on the wrist, that means you've got the same mindset. And you think that, because he's going to walk in there and justify it by saying, yeah, but they're all thugs and criminals. Because that's what you said. That's your stance on it. So if you're anyone who gives him a slap on the wrist for that also must believe that we are thugs and criminals.
I think we probably have to, on a serious level, need to bring in a black head teacher or someone on that level to talk about this, or in just general in terms of like what you can and can't do. I think there is a legal limit. I'm not sure you can actually get rid of someone just because they've done something like that. But I also think there's an episode in that regard in terms of
Okay.
what people say and
Okay.
do. Like,
If there is a blackhead teacher listening,
please,
all
come.
5 of you, let us know what you do.
all 5 in the UK,
Let us know what you do.
560 million.
You said all 5 of you can't just dismiss someone. You're saying you can't just dismiss someone for this.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think that's what the law.
That's what you
No.
said. No, I'm joking.
Keep coming for me.
Okay, the law.
I think the law literally
says
I
that
don't
you can't. Okay,
I
but
don't think you can dismiss someone for that. You know.
Okay.
I genuinely think you have to like go through disciplinary routes that get some back into the
I
system.
suppose.
Yeah.
No, but there are certain things that you just have to go. There's no
There are
strike.
things that you just
There are no
Oh
strikes.
no, yeah, of course.
There are-
Okay,
I'm not sure
okay.
that's
So
funny, though.
let me.
Which is
no,
sad, right?
Wait.
I want to check it out.
No, I think that's not one because it's a black thing. Had that have been something else said towards another culture or race on the same sort of level,
Do you reckon the walk?
he would go.
See, this is what I like.
He would go.
What we're doing is
That's
what we're
what I'm
doing
saying.
right now. Yeah, is really thinking what. So this is what I think. So it seems to me as if they, in this school in particular, they just had a conversation, went to wrong what you said, but we don't even know what the conversation is,
No, we don't.
and we don't know
No,
if this person's been put on disciplinary,
calculated.
whether or not they're less, because I think it would go further to what you're saying, lessons being observed,
Mm-hmm.
having, did they put them on a training?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
if they've done those things, said your lessons being observed from now on, blah blah blah, you have to do this within that period. You have to do this training course, however long it lasts. You
Also,
have to complete
formal
it by the
apology
thing.
with the parents. That wasn't
These
done.
courses,
There's a case where-
these courses. Sorry to cut
Yeah.
you. Who are they written by? Like, are there actual courses that people
Yeah,
get
that
sent to
people
for
have
like,
been
like
doing.
cultural competence and
Yeah,
and
that's
such as
schools
bias?
buy into it.
Schools by yeah, definitely.
We should write one.
One did Hanley Learning
Come-
Trust.
Like,
They've
come to us.
got one. They've got external
Yeah.
and bright people
Yeah.
put their services out there who've got that
We should
experience.
put a service out. Like, no, but I don't want to put it. I don't want to go into I don't want to go necessarily go into schools and give them a whole lecture and whatnot. I want you to
That's
come to me
this
after
Yeah,
the
you
fact. No, I don't. No, I don't. I want people like this guy.
Yeah.
I want them to come. Referral.
He's not coming to you.
A referral thing.
Oh,
He has to. He has no choice.
And he's
You
got
know,
to
like-
mask as well.
Yeah.
Coming to my class.
Yeah. No, then all I'm gonna do. No, all jokes aside, all I'm gonna do. The first thing I'll do is I'll show him positive images of young black people. That's how I'll kick it off. Or I'll even I'll do a timeline. I'll go into inventions, inventors, black inventors, scientists,
The Black Boy Smile
architects.
Project. The one of like the pictures
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
young black boys just
Yeah,
smiling back.
exactly.
The image of it is powerful.
Exactly. I'll just
You
kick
see
it off like that. I might not even speak. I might just play that over and over again. You know, like when you join the SAS or the CIA and they just put headphones on you and just play loud music and lights just flashing.
But do you not feel weird to do that as well? Like, I remember when we did, so in English there's like language paper 1 question 5 where we want to like write a story or a narrative about a picture. When I showed my class a picture of a black boy smiling, you should have seen their faces. It's like they'd never seen it before. And they were shocked. And some of them didn't know how to stop. And especially the black kids, they were just like, it's like, yeah, right, go on. 45 minutes.
I think that's
Just
true.
say, just go say, bad boy teacher. Yeah, that's a bad teacher.
I think it's just. I think it's trauma.
No, of course.
I think it's trauma.
Trauma or conditioning?
Both.
I think it's conditioning.
I think it's both. I think trauma can be passed down through your DNA.
I think it's conditioning.
And then conditioning, yeah. I think
conditioning.
getting hit up
I think
left,
it's-
right, and centre.
I think it's more to do. I think it's more to do with
environment, man.
conditioning.
Conditioning, yeah.
Conditioning, right? My perspective.
Yeah.
What
What do you think of like doing things like doing charitable things in schools for back home for the continent? What do you think?
I said that's an interesting question.
What do you think about that? Do you think that plays a role in conditioning?
What are we conditioning? when we do that? What do you think we're conditioning?
No, when I say conditioning, I mean like the image that you're portraying of African children. And then,
right.
because then it also, does it make you aspire to be anything? If you're like, not anything, but like great things. If you're just like, well, back home, even though I was born here, that's what it's like. There's no running water, they need clothes, they need shelter, they need food. That's why we're doing all of this, to send it back home.
Nah, I think I don't agree because it depends on. I think it depends on your family. Because.
But does it play into condition? Does it play into condition? What I'm saying is, should schools be doing that? Because I think.
Oh, should schools just generally just be doing that?
Yeah.
Because from the school's perspective, they're doing a good deed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a case of how a child would interpret it.
Yeah, sure.
I think there is a bit more of a wide.
But surely
discussion about
prevention is better than cure. So should we just avoid it all in general and just be
No.
like, no, let's just do a food bank?
No, I think it needs to be more nuanced than that. Like it's, but we do this, and this goes back to like if we really want to think about innovating and changing the curriculum. Like we teach Chimamanda and Adichie is like half of Yellow Sun. Like she's a middle class like Nigerian woman writing a story about the Civil War, and there is a poor boy who goes from the village to the city, but he meets a middle class black like Nigerian family. But it's like giving kids the different spectrum of what is going on in the African continent and different countries in the African continent will allow them to see that there is a working class, there's a middle class, there's an upper class, because we all have the same structures. Well, this is why that big debate of is it class versus race? Well, of course it's still race, but class is a problem everywhere.
Yeah, I think sometimes when people call out racism, sometimes we do need to take a step back and look at it as like, is it racism or is it just class?
Yeah, that's a big discussion.
Because most of the time, not most of the time, but sometimes it is a question of class. Younger people don't really understand that. They're not going, you're being a classist. So they'll just say you're being racist.
But I'm saying from the example that you gave, right? I'm thinking about with a lot of kids, it's about their family where they come from. So if they're already from the continent, right, and they are going regularly back home, it's a different experience. You know what I mean? I'm sure for many of them it's a different experience going back, and they're considered to be. So when they are saying that we're going to support,
they know.
They're like, because that's not my life when I go back to. That's what I'm saying.
It has. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. That's one aspect of it. But then, what are you saying to other racism cultures?
And that is the other thing. Because
it's all good. Like, when I go back home, that's not.
And that's what I was saying as a person. That's what I was saying as a person. But if you're looking at it from others, then that's a totally different. Because they haven't been, unless it's very extreme, like they beat up a kid and all that stuff. But then how extreme
when you say
that,
all right, but when you say beat up a kid, you're talking physically.
And that's what the difference is.
What psychological damage has this done to the child? So it might be justified as a fair dismissal.
There's something that always frustrates me, and I see this a lot, and this case is a similar in point. I can't remember, a few weeks ago, Atletico Madrid fans, I think, did Nazi salutes in the Man City match. And UEFA said, you have to get rid of 5,000 or 10,000 of your fans that aren't allowed in the stadium, that's going to be punishment. But went back against that 2 weeks later and just thought, no, don't worry, because Atletico Madrid challenged it. So we're saying Nazi salutes are okay in the stadium, which is almost similar to what we're doing here in regards to by accepting it and going, it's just almost like a slap on the wrist.
Thank you for tuning in. Just watch all the previous episodes and catch us on the next one. Thank you.
Instagram,
YouTube, and now we're on Spotify. Spotify also for all you more audio listeners and audio learners. We're on Spotify and we're on Apple Podcasts. So catch us on there.